there are many changes, and they're happening simultaneous. Some of them are intersecting with each other. Some are just congruent to each other. But there's a lot going on, and it just feels like tectonic plates moving around. I think the last time we felt something this significant was probably back when, you remember when you'd wake up every morning about 5 years ago and there were new rumors about conference expansion, and this team's going to land here and that team's going to land there, a little bit more than 5 years ago. But that's what it feels like right now. It's just a different feel. It's a different story. But right now you have, a lot of transfer portal that's changing the sport. You got a lot of, we've got name, image, and likeness coming down the pike that's changing the sport. Here's the feedback I get a lot, and this is where it ties into you watching or listening to this right now. Whenever I talk to a lot of folks coming out of college, or maybe a lot of folks who are in their early 30s, and you're doing a job right now, and it's paying the bills, but you've always dreamed about working in some shape, form, or fashion in college football. But because you didn't play college football, or your dad doesn't know anyone, or you don't know how to draw up the inside trap on a grease board, you don't think that there's a place for you in the sport. And I'm telling you, you're probably wrong. There probably is a place for you. If you have the requisite talent, if you have the drive and determination, there probably is a spot for you right now, even though you don't think you're qualified. And so the traditional lanes may be clogged. If you want to be the linebackers coach for Auburn, it may be a steep climb to get there. But there are way more lanes opening up right now, and they're those express lanes where if you're sitting in traffic and then everyone's flying by you over here, you think, man, I wish I could be in that lane, but I didn't buy the pass. Don't have to buy a pass. You just have to do the right things and keep your nose down. But what am I talking about? All that sounds great, and that's rainbows and sunshine. I'm going to give you some actual examples here. I would encourage you to go look these names up and look these stories up in your own time. So Brian Carrington is one of about 4 or 5 names I want to bring up to you here. Brian Carrington, let me tell you where he was 7 years ago. First, the guy was working in Olive Garden. He was working, I think, at Sam's Club in Olive Garden 7 years ago. So Tom Herman is at Houston at that point. And Brian Carrington, all that guy really knows is, man, I want to get in college football. I think I can do it. I love it. It wouldn't feel like a job to me. I think I'd be good at it. And so he just starts lighting Tom Herman up, starts sending him letters. And they were understaffed at Houston at the time. And so Tom Herman says, all right, man, shut up. Come on. I'll put you on the staff. Well, then he elevates to assistant director of player personnel there. Well, Tom Herman goes to Texas. Guess who he brought with him? Who ended up being the director of recruiting at Texas? That would be Brian Carrington. And then after this last year, there's a coaching change there. Sark comes in. Brian doesn't really know anybody at Texas. USC came calling. And you know what they gave him an opportunity to do? Not only did they bring him out there to beef up the recruiting infrastructure, they gave him an on-field spot as an analyst. And so Brian Carrington goes from Olive Garden 7 years ago, wanting to be in college football, to now the dude's out there coaching during practice at USC, and also in a lot of ways running the recruiting operation. I don't care what his name tag says. That guy, if he's not doing it right now, he will be doing it in very short order. That's a name that a lot of people have had their eyes on, but my point is that wasn't a 15 or 20 year, long, a hard road to the top. Guy was in Olive Garden 7 years ago. Will Stout. I'm going to give you some really young names here. Will Stout, also at USC. USC's been making some good moves off the field. They've been making some really good moves. You remember in 2019, remember when LSU went on that run to the national championship game? And in a lot of ways, they were revolutionizing offense at LSU and also in the SEC. You watched that. But I'll tell you what a 15 or 16-year-old prospective athlete saw. He saw that LSU was really owning the video world and the social world. And the reason they were doing that was in part due to guys like Will Stout. So Will Stout at that point was in college at LSU. He was kind of a student director of graphics and design and video. Man, they were knocking it out of this world. They were just doing some things differently than people had done before. And it was appealing. It was really, they were owning the Saturday morning slot. The hype videos, the during the week practice videos, they just looked different than what anyone else had done. Well, it was really good. I mean, they were getting so much bang for their buck in terms of marketing. However much they were being paid down there, it wasn't nearly enough. Well, USC came calling there too. USC looked around and said, maybe we don't have that in-house, but let's just go to Baton Rouge. Let's get him. Let's pay him. And so Will Stout now, you think what, 30, 35 years old? Guy graduated from college in 2020, and I'm looking at the eye, Josh, and it's set, Colin, this thing says 2021 right now, and it's not all that old. So that's a guy 1 year out of college who is, I don't doubt at all, doing very well for himself financially and is in a role that wasn't even prioritized at USC 5 years ago. Barton Simmons, to shift gears here, was sitting right next to me about 15 minutes ago doing a signing day show. Do you know what he does now? Barton Simmons is the general manager of Vanderbilt football now. Well, how in the world did that happen? Since when were head coaches in the SEC or the Power 5 level taking guys who worked in the world of online recruiting and putting them in a general manager position? Well, if you know recruiting and you know the evaluation game and you got an extensive network of contacts and you know the high school scene, you speak the recruiting and college football language. Barton, I mean, allegedly he played at Yale. I've yet to be sent video of it, but he played at Yale. That is an alternative route, but yet a route that I guarantee you haven't seen taken for the last time, because the way this normally happens is one school will do it and no other program wants to be first. Like no other program wants to be the first to hire a guy from the world of 24/7 sports recruiting to work in their athletic department. But then once one of them does it, you know what else they don't want to do? They don't want to be the third program to do it. Don't want to be first, don't want to be third. So now you'll see a rush. And now you'll see a lot of folks from our world get more looks. So you got graphics and design. You got Brian Carrington sending letters to Tom Herman. He's working at Olive Garden. He just wants to get in somehow. You got Barton working in this world, and all of a sudden the dude's he's got a new address about 10 minutes up the road, works at Vanderbilt now. I'm not even done yet. There's another name. You've never heard this one. Ian McFarland. Thursday, I believe it was, Georgia Tech named this guy brand manager. That's not a role that was around 5 years ago. In a lot of ways, it's still not a role that's around at most Power 5 programs. Let me give you his resume. Worked in graphics and design at Louisville. He ran social media at Notre Dame. He was a student graphics and design sort of intern at North Texas in 2017, 18, and 19, and he graduated college in 2019. Dude's 2 years out of college. He is now the brand manager for Georgia Tech. What is that, by the way? Well, it's a guy who essentially is in charge with presenting Georgia Tech to the world. And Jeff Collins understands the second he walked in, the reason he got my attention so quickly and the reason he's gotten a lot of people's attention down there is because he walked in and said, hold up, we're not located in Lowndes County. We're not located in Bainbridge. This is Atlanta. There's just no knock on Lowndes or Bainbridge, by the way, but this is Atlanta. Why aren't people associating Georgia Tech with Atlanta more? That's why you see 404 plastered every single place they go, everything they do. They got a 404 all over the place, and a little yellow jacket emoji sometimes. That's the area code for Atlanta, if you're old enough there to have the right area code. That's the real area code. And so now, Atlanta, synonymous with Georgia Tech, Atlanta, Georgia Tech, Atlanta. This is going to be a mainstay. Within 3 years, if you don't have that role in your athletic department, your football program, you're a dinosaur. Ian McFarland graduated college 2019. He is now the brand manager for Georgia Tech. Here's one that's really interesting. This is one Bruce Feldman from The Athletic reported on yesterday. I want to say it was yesterday, just Saturday. Keith Sanchez. It's another name you may not recognize. Some people who are really close to LSU probably recognize him. He was a personnel analyst. That's what he was doing. One of several. All the big programs have a small army of those types of analysts. So Bruce Feldman reports yesterday he's leaving LSU. Not on bad terms. He's leaving to enter law school. This was part of the quote. This was Keith Sanchez talking to Bruce Feldman. He said, it's the best right now that I go to law school so I could be in position and credentialed to handle what's coming next. He's talking about NIL. And I was on the phone myself, well over an hour actually, with a lawyer that is specifically isolated in that world last week, 2 weeks ago. This is the right move. You guys want to be involved with that. In fact, let me tell you, if you already have a law degree, you are 10 steps ahead. If you have a law degree or you have a degree in economics and you love college football, sky's the limit for what you could do in this industry right now. But also marketing, sky's the limit for what you could do in this industry right now. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. You think that there's a line out the door. There's not. These are major programs, and yet there is a shortage of elite, professional, qualified folks who want to go into that world. Because right now, people with law degrees and economics degrees and marketing degrees, they don't think, I want to go work for the University of South Carolina. They don't think that route's possible. They think only football people can go work for football programs. If you're a marketer, if you're an economist, if you're a lawyer, you are a football person in today and tomorrow's game. So pay attention to these stories, because these are the stories of the people that you'll be watching documentaries on 5 years from now. You know, folks who overcame odds, folks who blazed their own trail. It happens in our world all the time. It's happening in the actual football world too.